Hello everyone, it's Morris here. So today is very exciting for Axie Infinity Origin Season 2 because the Rare Era has just ended and the Epic Era just started. So the main thing is to note is that for the Epic Era, it's going to be 2 weeks instead of 1 week for the Rare. And of course now you can use the Epic Runes and Charms. So what else has changed is that you now can craft the Epic Runes and Charms obviously, and then the utility slots are also opened. I think the other thing to note is that all players who've at least played one game during the Epic Era will get a sealed Epic Runes. So my advice, of course, is that you use all your moon shards to craft first, and of course, if you don't get the rune that you want, then you can use this sealed Epic Rune choice box to choose the Epic Rune that you want. And then they did say that they were going to make some rune adjustments, and they did. Also some charms as well. So actually going to get into the analysis of the runes and charms. Okay, so let's look at the patch changes and see what has changed. So this is the Epic Era patch, and there are 6 things that has changed. First is the Jinx mechanic, and then the 4 runes that we just saw, and then there's a charm that got changed as well. So let's just look into it first. So for Jinx, basically now it happens at the end of your turn as opposed to the beginning of your turn, which actually can make quite a big difference. It's definitely a nerf, because I've had games where I draw into a Jinx and then my Axie just fainted, as opposed to, like, let's say if it's the end of the turn, then I could have finished off my opponent's Axie. So that made basically a huge difference in terms of the gameplay. So definitely a big nerf, and also it's actually your furthest unit, not Axie. I think that's what they clarified, and so meaning you can actually put like a summons there now. Let's say, you draw into some Jinx, you put summons at the back or something that maybe they can take the damage instead or something. Trunk will be a good example, but so that will be one way of getting around this actually. So that's one of the main changes for Jinx. So maybe we'll see the power level of Jinx lower by quite a bit, but who knows, we'll see. And this is probably the biggest change, I feel, because Moonlight Thief has been a very, very strong rune from the testing, and just because I feel like every team probably needs one of these, is because before this change, basically you're just gaining energy a lot faster than opponent. But now what it does is that, it says solo, when your turn starts, if you have less energy fragment or energy burst level than your opponent, then steal 1 energy fragment. So basically, it's only if you are behind, then you get to steal. So in a way, I can see now it is quite a good tech against kind of ramp team. Basically, let's say, you don't really run ramp, but then especially I think couples pretty well with Quarantail as well, because let's say if you use Quarantail, then you basically will definitely be behind. Then every turn you're going to disrupt the opponent and then also gaining the energy fragment. So I can see that this is quite a good tech against ramp. So we'll see how effective it is now. Just because now it's not an additional ramp. Let's say if you're a ramp team, you can't really run this, just because you'll always be having more energy fragment or energy burst level compared to the opponent. So I think but wait, let me think. If you have less energy fragment, so actually this is interesting. It's because, let's say if you have, I'm just thinking in a scenario, right, where you have higher energy burst level than your opponent, but you have less energy fragment, right? Opponent, let's say, let's just say if you just have energy burst and you only have 1 energy fragment, whereas the opponent has 10, then does it actually steal it as well? So this is actually quite interesting in terms of the wording, so I'm not too sure. So we'll have to see how it actually works. I'm hoping that it can't be run in a ramp team, otherwise it's just a bit OP. So I think maybe the wording might be a bit weird, but we'll see how it actually works. Another change that they've changed is actually that instead of 3 times, now actually it's changed to 4. So this is a bit wrong here. It's actually 4 times. I think that's what they've changed to. So now the heal is quite significant, I feel. I think it's a good change. It makes it a bit stronger as well. So it's pretty good to sustain this being there and just tech against ram kind of team, that kind of rune. Okay, so next up we have Red Sage. So for Red Sage, it can put on the heal or shield cards. So I think they actually changed the wording to skill and secret cards, but effectively I think they mean the same thing. Actually, not really. I think because skill card can also be other cards that doesn't have heal and shield. So in a way, I think it should be heal and skill and secret cards. Anyway, what this does is a plant mystic rune. They haven't actually released it, so maybe they will still change it. I'm not too sure. That's why in the patch note there they didn't really say anything about this, is because they haven't really released it. But the proposed change is basically to change from 10% to 20%, just because this, as a mystic, is not that strong, right? If it's 10 to 20, I think could be stronger. Still not sure if it's like worth like a mystic, but now I think it's quite significant, I would say. Okay, let's look at what will actually be changed in the Erpic Era, and that's Leaf Cloak. So Leaf Cloak now basically adds an additional clause. I think it's basically that. Okay, so the original was basically solo. Whenever hit, if this Axie has leaves, then take 15% less damage, then lose 1 leaf and grants 1 leaf to all other ally Axie. So, meaning if this Axie has no leaves, then it's basically useless. But now, what it says is that otherwise it gains 2 leaf. So meaning if this opponent does not have any leaf, then it will gain 2 leaf. Meaning then the next hit that it will take will then have the 15% damage reduction, which is a lot better, I feel, and it's definitely a lot stronger, and it enables quite a lot of leafy build. Another way of getting leaves without, let's say, running other, like maybe the spears, or without running other things. So I think it's gonna be a pretty good change. Let's see if this actually push leafy up, or maybe it doesn't have to be leafy as well, it could be other sustain build, and yeah, this might be quite a good rune. Okay, finally we have Prehistoric Armor. So the change is basically they added an effect. Originally it doesn't have this. When your turn starts, this Axie gains 1 spike, and now I think this, I quite like it. Yeah, so basically you're already getting 1 spike, and the spike also gains grant 3 bonus blood spike as well. So that's to stay the same. And another change as well is that, right before, I think, is that when the spike got hit, I guess, right, then it healed for 8. But now it's literally just whenever hit, this Axie is healed for 8, which is pretty insane, because it's basically like Steel Skin. Right? Steel Skin is the mag rune, right, where it just reduces 10 damage, and effectively this reduces 8 damage. So effectively the same thing, but has additional upside of getting the spike every turn. So I think they might have buffed it too much. I'm not too sure, but yeah, I think this could be again a very, very strong rune. So yeah, definitely look out for this as well. Oh yes, forgot about this one, so I said finally, but this is probably the finally. And Metamorphosis, the bug one. So what it does is that it says when your turn starts, this actually gains 1 cocoon, then gains 5 shield for each of its cocoon stacks. So originally it was 4 shield, so now I changed to 5, which I think basically just buff the power level of this a bit, because originally, let's say if you have 10 stacks, you only get 50 something shield, and now you have 62 shield. So I think not too bad. I mean, once you get to 10 stack, I think it's quite significant. So yeah, and also at the 50% shield, I think could be, the retain could be quite strong as well. But still, I'm not too sure if it's strong enough in the Erpic Era. But I guess we'll see, maybe, I think in a sustain kind of build, or even, yeah, I don't know. To be honest, I think as a tank, the problem with this kind of rune is that it's a bit slow to start, right? Because let's say if as a tank, if you put it at the front, then like it doesn't actually gain that much shield every turn, like at the beginning, and that means you're actually gonna take quite a lot of hit at the beginning. And usually, like against aggro, yeah, this won't survive for like 3 rounds, right? So yeah, I'm not too sure like where this will fit, because like let's say we put it at the back, then or the mid, then yeah, I guess you slowly have the cocoon stack to stack up. But then, yeah, not too sure if it's that good, to be honest, still. But maybe it's still good in a sustained kind of build. Let's see. And that's it for this. Of course, this is disclaimer, meaning there could still be things that's changed. Like, these are pretty much confirmed, I think, for the epic ones. It's just the mystic one, they probably might change some other things as well. Yeah, so that's basically it. Yeah, so thank you for joining, and enjoy the Epic Era. See you in the next video.